Welcome to Actual Skill Modelling. This is part 13 of Hobby Boss's M1070 truck and trailer with the M1000 heavy equipment transport semi-trailer. Scale is 135. In this part 13, I'm going to be concentrating on finishing the arm which forms part of the trailer. So I'm going to be placing on quite a few photo etch parts, the mechanisms that make the arm work, and things like that. So it's quite a lot to get done in this video. So let's jump on to this and see how well I get on. To begin with, there's a series of photo etch parts that have to be bent here. So as you can see, I'm using my bending tool, and these make up steps that go inside the arm that was built in the previous video. Now, because these are form steps, I actually found it quite difficult to bend these into position and shape using my tool. Because you can quickly run out of room when you're bending them. So half the time I had to use my tweezers as a straight rule to bend them into position. So I never got as sharp as bend as I would have liked. There's a series of little brackets and mechanisms to make up for the next part. These I'm making up here. There's two of them. It consists of what as a roller really. Even though it's not movable, it's one solid piece. I would assume it's for when the arm moves, but I'm not 100% sure. There is a couple of little connection points that go onto it as well. What those are for, I'm not sure, but they are quite small parts. Next, there's two sidewalls or brackets that go on next to the control panel. At the top of these, they have a little lip that holds the wire mesh that you see lying on the mat. Now, you can approach this two ways. You can put the brackets in first and then slide in the metal grate, or you can half assemble it and marry it up on the other end. Either way works fine. It depends how you feel. Now, the metal grate I painted in Mr. Hobby's H38 steel red metallic. I'm not sure whether that's proper colour, but I do like the colour, and that's the sort of colour I've been using for all the metal plates anyway. So I'm just sliding this in position. The bracket is such that it goes underneath a little lip. It can be a little bit tricky to get it hard up against it. Next to go on are the photo etch steps. Now, I had difficulty fitting these, partly because of the plate on the arm itself. In the other video, the one previous to this, I said it would have been better if I didn't cement the plate arms in position first. I didn't know that at the time, so I'm struggling a little bit to get these fitted. In fact, I was able to get these little armatures off, enabling me to move them in position. This is also where you find whether you've got your bends done correctly or not. As I said, I had difficulty with this. I suspect I didn't bend the photo etch as well as I should have done, but in the end I was able to mould it in position to make it all fit. But this did take quite a long time to fit, and in fact I had to take them off, re-put them on, dry fitting all the time, of course. But it was difficult to get them all fitted inside. But in the end, I did get them fitted as happy as I was able to. The top grate bar plate that I put on there did pop off while I was doing this, so I'm just replacing it. There was something I did forget to fit, and that was the connecting part for the fifth wheel. It's just a little stub of plastic really, but it's quite important. Luckily, it could have went on at any point anyway, so I'm fitting it now. There's also a little bracket that goes on the side of the mechanism that I forgot to put on, which I'm rectifying now. Now I realised that I hadn't put them on while I was placing the other brackets on the side part of the arm. I looked at the picture and I thought, oh, this doesn't look right, so I backtracked and realised my mistake. Here I'm fitting the control box, and the control box comes in two parts, the cover and the main box itself. You can have it open or closed, it's entirely up to you. I had mine's open. Next, there's a grab rail that goes on. There's two of these, one for each side. And within that rail, there's two wedge-shaped boxes that fit in each one. I don't know what colour these are meant to be, so I'm just painting everything in the green colour to begin with. I'll look down later on the line, see if they need to be painted in the colour, but the pictures I have looked at are all suggesting just the main block colour. And then it's the two mechanisms that I made at the beginning of the video. They go on the side of the control area. I should point out as well, each part in the main has a really good location points for you to follow. At the front there's three little connection units here that you have to place, and I suspect these are to hold more duct, but I'm not entirely sure at this stage. However, the instructions weren't exactly clear on this point, which way the parts were meant to go, so I had to study this quite carefully before I attached these parts. There's a wedge that gets placed on top of the arm, which you have to make up. You have to make up the ratchet handle as well as the bracket that goes at the end of the wedge. The ratchet is a fairly simple build. It's a small photo etch part that you bend in, and it's only basically a box, and it's easy enough to bend with your tweezers. If it does go wrong, don't worry about it so much, because it's quite small anyway. You're not going to see much of that detail, even though it is going to be on display. But you shouldn't have any problem bending it in position, and once it is, there's a little plastic ratchet handle that goes on inside it. Now there is a little location point for thread this through, and it's easy enough done. It just pushes in without any issues. And at the opposite end there is a small bracket to make up for the main flywheel. These parts are just plastic. There's a little wheel that goes inside the bracket before attaching it to the main arm. I suggest attaching the wheel first before the bracket. It just makes it a little bit easier. The bracket itself is curved to fit the arm as well, so it is a fairly straightforward construction. Then once I was on, I was able then to put the ratchet handle on. There is a location point for this. There's two tires that have to be placed on here, so I'm just building the inner core of the tire first of all. These are slightly different from the main tires on the truck. You're putting the two halves together, and that's all you have to do. There's no any major building issues with this. It's just essentially three parts: the hub part of the wheel and the main core. There's two guardrails that have to go on also. It's a fairly simple construction. It's just this cross beam bracket that I'm placing on here. You only attach it to one end of the handrail or the guard. Make sure you build this on first before you put the handrail in, because it's quite difficult to maneuver in position once the handrail is actually on. However, each side is identical, so once you know what you're doing with one, the opposite one shouldn't be any problem. I'm using River Colour 365 green for the main colour for the windshield. I'm also taking the opportunity just to put another coat on the main arm. It's better to do this now than wait, because it's just one or two little processes left, but you want to get it done before this part goes on. And what I'm doing here is I've taken a piece of fishing line, and this fishing line is what I use for most of my rigging and things like that. Then I'm painting it with 08 matte black Revit aqua colour, because the fishing line is transparent and it holds the paint quite well. And while that's drying, I'm going back to the wheels and placing in the central bracket that's got to be holding the wheels in position. I suggest you do this now before you put the tires on, but it just makes it a lot easier and more sense, of course. There's three little prongs that hold the bracket onto the tires. Now, there's not an exact location point for these, but I fitted it within the holes of the hub of the wheel. And then once it was assembled and dried, I simply just pushed the tire onto the wheel hub itself. Then it's back to the winch, and I'm threading through the fishing line through the wheel mechanism of the winch, and that goes directly to the ratchet. I'm just securing it with a tiny little bit of super glue. On the other end of the line, there's a little hook that gets secured, so I'm just threading that through. There's a little eyelet on the hook, and then I'm going to be cemented it in position. It goes the prong part of the feet. There's a sort of like a 3 tripod structure to hold it in place, and the hook just gets centered in one of those. It's an idea to do this now, and don't be tempted to make the line taut before you do so. That way you can just pull it through once it's on and get the tautness of the line that you want. And once the hook was secured, I just pulled the line until it was nice and taut, and I'll just cut off the excess. It's quite simple, really. The only problem is the connection points are so small, but apart from that, it's a fairly simple construction. And before I cut the line, obviously, I'm just securing it with a little bit of super glue, so it doesn't fall apart, of course. But that's essentially done. So now it's time to place in the tire. A little bracket there just pops in its house and right in the center without any fuss. And now that the super glue is dry, it's just cutting off that excess off the line before placing it on the actual arm structure itself. And as I'm placing this on, this is well in part 13. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you go and check out the channel for my other builds. If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build, but all my other builds as well, of course. Hit the like button. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.